Welcome to the Nest Pros pregame show. My name is Adam Samarov and my co-host Chris Sipperly, and with us today is a special guest from Off the Wall Football on Facebook and all the different social medias. We have Trey joining us this week as well. So, gentlemen, welcome to game day for the Albany Firebirds.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me. This has been in the works for a little while. I know we've been going back and forth for a couple months now, so we're finally able to make it happen. I'm ready to talk ball with y'all.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. This is going to start to cut you off. This is the first, I believe, first non AFL produced Evergreen Now live show. So we're excited to kind of make history, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
We are making history tonight, and our father flocker, of course, is in the house. Steve, getting ready. We are 27 minutes away from kickoff at 6:30 out in Salina, Kansas, against the Salina Liberty. This game tonight, of course, Sunday night, is going to be on Vice TV. So check your local listings. If you have cable, Spectrum, I know most people in Albany have like Spectrum. It's on their website. You can get it, and there's different ways to get it. I think there's an app as well. So you can get it on Hulu on your streaming service. Lots of different ways to see your Firebirds play tonight against the Salina Liberty out in Kansas. Tonight we are brought to you. We have my four reads here. We're brought to you by the Clock Tower Hotel in Latham. They've been amazing to us, letting us do our weekly show Mondays at 7:00. We've been doing our weekly shows. We're scheduled to do one tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes with the Sunday night coming back. Steve says channel 133 on Spectrum. So all right, there we go, 133 if you got Spectrum. We're brought to you by Evergreen Now. As Chris said, this is the first non-AFL produced show to go live on Evergreen Now. So we're proud to be a part of that, and we love their service, and that they've had some really great games so far, and being able to see what the rest of the league is doing. If I want to go, hey, I need to see what Salina's doing, I can go on it. Or if I want to see what Billings is going to be for next week, their big game next week. Albany and Billings coming up at the MVP Arena on the 13th, another Vice game. Hey, I can watch the Outlaws and see what they did. They pounded the Washington last couple days ago.
Yeah.
So we can do
Yeah.
we can do that through Evergreen. There's also being a watch party. We were not able to attend tonight for just different reasons, but there is a watch party tonight going on at Recovery Sports Grill in Troy, right down on Hoosick Street. So shout out to those guys and their fandom, and they love the Firebirds, and it's a great place to go get a meal, enjoy your Firebirds. And then the Rusty Nail in Clifton Park has jumped on board as well. They also are big supporters of the Firebirds, and we want to welcome them as well to the Nest pregame show. So before we look at Salina coming up tonight in approximately 25 minutes, we want to go back a little bit to the Nashville game, really kind of go over, what happened. The Albany came out with a 42-34 win, definitely closer, I think, than maybe anybody realized after the 78-20 beatdown they put on Southwest Kansas. But I think it was a good game to, show like, okay, we're in a moment where we need to really get it done, and they did. Led by Sam Castronova and receivers like Dwayne Brown, Isaiah Scott, Darian Townsend, and then the foot of Henry Nell. Well, we'll get into all of that, of course. They come up with a 42-34 win to stay undefeated. And Trey, you were there last week in Nashville, Nashville, and you saw firsthand, what was going on that game and what the Firebirds were up to, and just give me your quick take overall of what you saw last week.
Yeah, overall, it was a much more physical game than I thought it was going to be heading into it. I had the opportunity to be like right up on the dasher boards in in one of the end zones, and so seeing some of those bodies flying and making contact 5 feet away from you, that changes your perspective on this game and how physical it can be. But ultimately, you could just tell Albany looked more polished, and they were just able to outlast Nashville, which makes sense when you think about Nashville adding those couple pieces to their roster, a week before the game, still trying to gel, still trying to figure things out. But yeah, I think this was a good wake-up call for Albany. I think the sense from a lot of folks that follow the game, and I know a lot of Albany fans, was that they were just going to roll over a lot of teams and work their way up to the Billings game. But this was a way that they kind of got humanized a little bit. And in a way where it's like, okay, every week's going to be a battle. Every team is going to give them 100%. Coach Ware talks about it on Flock U all the time.
Yeah.
They get 100% from everybody. And this last week was an example of it. And this week with Salina is going to be no different.
Yeah, and they, like you said, Nashville having to come up with a couple of guys, to fill in the roster. And then I think, Cato, the quarterback there, I thought did a really nice job. And I think I think Albany, had a couple things to work out and to make those adjustments. And obviously they did by the end. But, talk about his role and, coming in fresh and new to to Nashville and really leading them, to that, was close at halftime and obviously finish it off.
Yeah, I think Rakeem Cato started off real strong because he has a lot more arena experience than I think a lot of people realize. Last year, he was with the Iowa Rampage for a cup of coffee. He was with he was in the Arena League, the TAL. He's played for the Predators in the past. He's been all over the place. He's been up in the CFL for a little bit. So it's not like they just pulled a guy from the stands and threw him out there. This is a seasoned quarterback who was arguably one of the most accomplished college quarterbacks of all time. So it makes sense that he was able to step in and facilitate and get things going. But yeah, starting off, they were able to strike early. I think there was 38 points scored total in the first half or in the first quarter. And then
it was like 33 to 30 at halftime or something like that.
It slowed down dramatically after that because I think the defenses kind of got a feel for what was happening. And it was just a lot more physical in that second half.
Now, have you heard anything? Sorry, I mean, step on you there. Have you heard? So Cato isn't on. I know this isn't a Nashville show, but I had seen that Cato was no longer on a team. Any idea why they let him go? Just to kind of get the other quarterback that they signed a week before kind of up to speed? I mean, I'm not looking to speculate. I just wondered, what your take is on that.
Yeah, not sure how to say this, but I think Kolka will be the future of Nashville. He showed up really nicely in this week's game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, he did.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
That's fine. Yeah, we're not a clickbait / rumor show anyhow. So,
but that's actually, I mean, it's interesting too because it's like Cato plays, the week before against Albany, and then the other one plays and gets his win, gets the first win for Coach Arbet and the Cats. So that's obviously seeing them grow like that. I mean, again, I know we're like Sip said, we're an Albany podcast, but we like. We're also football fans. We like to see, teams grow and teams get better. We're going to see that with Albany a lot. These guys gelling with some of this young receiving core. And to segue into that, I wanted to kind of talk about, you saw it was so back and forth for most of the whole game really, but mostly the first half and into the third.
Yeah.
Where Albany would score and then Nashville would score and back and forth. Talk about watching that kind of the gunslinger battle of, okay, whatever you can do, I can do better.
Yeah. Starting off, it was a lot more back and forth than I thought. I was standing not too far from Quarta and Gary Compton and Steve Titus, and I was able to have some conversations with them, and I was like, man, this turned into quite a ball game. Like I don't think we anticipated it being quite this close. But
so, hold on a second. I mean to cut you off, but you said Quarta and Titus and Jerry. You were with the big group here. These are the big guys.
I know. As I was saying it, I was like, it sounds like I'm name dropping, but I promise I'm not. I just wanted to give you reference to
100%.
I was having some conversations with. That came off a lot worse than I wanted to, but
it wasn't received that way. Don't sweat it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So being talking with them, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a tight game, and I think Henry Nell hitting those deuces early really set the tone in terms of you said it. They were going back and forth, but getting that deuce early automatically put Albany up. So they were neck and neck, score three times, but that extra two really put a little bit of pressure on Nashville. And Henry just had a great game last week. And yeah, I think without those couple deuces from Henry, that's a very different ball game we're looking at.
100%.
And we've seen him now. This is the second game of the year for the Firebirds, and he had two deuces in the first game against Southwest Kansas. He had two last week. He also had the field goal and all that.
Yeah.
Because of the way the rules work in AF1, the kicker has so much more ability to help a team offensively, obviously. And he's done that. He's had four deuces this year so far, a field goal. He's been, I think, maybe he's missed, I think, maybe 2 point afters or whatever. So he gives you a weapon that changes everything. And it sounds like that was the case definitely when you saw him against Nashville this week.
Yeah, there was a couple times he was lining up on a kickoff, and I was like, all right, I'm getting the camera ready. Like, I just knew he was going to hit it. And I got some really sweet angles. Like, I was right under the net for one of them. I was like, that's a keeper. I sent it to him after the game. I'm like, I had the faith. Here's the video. Thank you. Thank you for confirming my faith.
And then, going into it late, Albany's ahead, close game late. Albany drives Albany gets the ball back in their own end. They're going for it on 4th down. And then Sam, misses on a pass. And immediately, I don't think he even waited a second. He immediately went to the referee and is like, the MAC linebacker is in the backfield before I even get the damn thing. Yeah. That's an illegal blitz. You got to do this for me. And they got together and they checked it and they did it. What happened when you saw, like, what was going on from your perspective in the arena when that happened?
It's funny you say that because that was on my end of, like, where I was on the wall. So that whole, like, I saw the tirade from Sam go down like 10 yards from me. Now, and like in real time, I didn't catch it just because, the linemen are 6'5", 6'6", and they're blocking some of the view from where we're at. But and seeing the replay, that linebacker was clearly moving before the snap, and I think that's what they were trying to convey to the refs. But yeah, they ultimately got it right. It just took a little bit of time to get it there.
Well, you know why Sam? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's tough because I'm sure that these officials, I'm sure they referee college games and other pro, maybe they're doing UFL or maybe they're doing the CFL stuff. Like they're doing other games.
It's fine there. Yeah.
And it's fine there. But then here it's different. So it's
right.
As long as I think the right thing happened, though, as long as they look at it and they go, okay, let's see this is, they can check the replay and get it right. And then, hey, like take the time to get it right. Who cares? But
that's why Sam got so upset is he was on the show last week, Adam, as you remember. He's like, I didn't think, he just to make the error, but he didn't think that the reason why he got so upset is because he didn't think that the team had any more challenges. And he felt that they were going to ultimately fall short because they didn't have that challenge. So that was kind of the touch and go. And I think that's why there's so much conversation that had to occur in order for that replay to happen.
Right. Yeah.
And then, so they get the win and, they're 2-0. They're kind of, Billings is right there. Let's talk about the matchup. I know we're talking about Salina, and we'll get to that, but I just think that championship rematch is going to be something else. Just give me your quick thought on Billings is undefeated right now. Albany's undefeated right now. No matter what happens this week, that's still going to be the matchup to watch.
Yeah, the Billings Albany game, not just the first one, but the second one immediately after, which we're blessed with a little home and home series there.
Yeah,
I think this Billings team is better than last year. Their offense is cooking. Randy Hibbard is their OC, who was the quarterback for Nashville in the back end of the season last year. He just has brought an extra little magic dust to the offense that is just making it click and making things go for them. And they're able to find some diamonds in the rough and kind of. Albany I think you guys can admit, has signed a lot of veterans of the game who have been around for a while and have been proven to be, all-star caliber, all first team caliber at whatever league they're playing in. But Billings approaches it a little bit differently, where they get somebody that they can mold into what they need. So I think it's a very interesting clash of roster construction styles, and it's going to be fun to watch. I think this Billings offense is going to be very explosive, but you just can't ignore the talent that Albany has on offense as well. So that we could be looking at a 60-65 game. It could be.
I agree, and I think a lot of their change in their offense is their ability to run the ball and their willingness to run the ball. But again, that's that's on the 13th. But we got kickoff here coming up here in 14 minutes. Salina versus Albany.
So this week, we saw some posts on social media. It seemed like a planes, trains, and automobiles situation. Guys were carpooling to get out there. Again, no idea what was going on. We may find out later, but we may not. But any situation, having a tough travel, whether that's getting caught in a storm and having your flight canceled or delayed, or anything like that. How do you think? And this is for both of you guys. How do you think that can affect Albany for tonight? Having that long, hours long travel to get out to Kansas. And I'll start. Either one of you guys can go.
Yeah, I'll start. So I think it's interesting because if you go back to last year and even this year, Southwest Kansas has gone out to Albany twice now, right? Once last year, once this year.
Right.
Their travel was brutal to get out to Albany, and especially I think last year they were on a short week, or this year they were on a short week too. So I think a lot of teams have been feeling that. But when did Albany arrive? Did they arrive like yesterday or late on Friday?
I believe yesterday. I can't really speculate on that, but I know it was shoot, I think it was 20 hours from Kansas to Albany. And I don't think that people really quite understand how hard it really is to play a road game at this level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
These teams aren't right around the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
It's not to Philadelphia.
Yeah. It's not nothing. But it just depends. Like I trust in Coach Ware to be able to get his guys ready to go, regardless of the circumstances. But yeah, it might play into the game for sure.
For Salina, they're coming in 0-2. They are, according to the AF1 Power Rankings, I believe they were 8th out of 8. Don't quote me.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't think there's a better way to construct it, but I don't think you're number 8.
Well, either way, they come in. They've scored 41 and they've allowed I think 92 or something like that. So they've had a rough go here in this year to start off. But they do have some really talented players. Just that maybe hasn't gelled yet. Let's talk about a couple of guys that are people that I'm sure Albany has looked at on film and has got tracking for tonight. Their quarterback, Javin Kilgo, has had a rough start. He's had 3 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but they've also played some really good opponents. Talk about him and, his ability to, find the receivers and make life difficult for the Albany defense.
I transparently, I'm not a Javin Kilgo guy. I think he's had a rough start to the season, and the tape, if you go back to last season for the team and league that he was in, he had a rough go, and there was a reason why he didn't finish the season as the starting quarterback. I think he's a gunslinger in the good and bad ways. Like, I think he is the Jameis Winston of the arena game, where he tosses the ball. It could be a 40-yard touchdown or it could be a pick six. Like, you don't know what's about to be thrown. And
Jameis just signed a nice contract for the Giants.
Listen, when it works, right? But unfortunately for him, so far this season, in the 2 games against Corpus Christi, it didn't. So that first one was brutal, just absolutely tough. And like you mentioned with the power rankings, Salina's not an 8 out of 8 power ranking when you look at the talent of that roster.
Yeah,
they're drastically underperforming, and they need better efficiency out of the quarterback position in order to have a fighting chance. And that's what we saw in the second game against Corpus Christi. That first half, they were getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly, making things happen.
Yep.
And they just can't let him hold on to the ball for too long, because that's when those mistakes that are ultimately backbreakers have happened for them. So I think getting the ball out of his hands as soon as possible, I think that's what they got.
No, I agree, and I think in the end, I think he's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of this isn't here, that isn't here, take off. Like, he spends too much time
100%
trying to play quarterback. Just go be an athlete at a certain point,
Yeah, he's got the physical capabilities to be a rushing threat. We just haven't seen him do that yet. So instead of forcing a pass into a tight double coverage window, tuck it and take 5 yards.
Right, give what the defense gives you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, another guy who has impressed so far in their couple of games is Malik Honeycutt, the wide receiver, who's also a kick returner for them. Came over from Orlando last year, and I'm guessing again he probably, again, not having really seen him too much, he's looking for that number one guy, and it's just about getting the ball in his hands, because then you get the ball in Honeycutt's hands, let the athlete do the athlete thing.
Exactly.
So talk about him as that kind of leader on that offense for Malik.
Yeah, I think he's extremely dynamic, and I think what you saw last week we'll pull from the Albany-Nashville game, where Albany had a lot of success, especially with Isaiah Scott, was they were able to throw to him on a quick screen where he takes one step, turns around, catches it. Let him do the work. I think they need to do a lot of that with not just Malik Honeycutt, but Tracy Brooks on offense, and let the skill position players display their skills and get it into their hands and let them do their thing, instead of trying to force it into some tough situations, because this Albany secondary, is one of the best in the league, if not the best. And they did it last week against Nashville, and they might be able to bait Kilgo into some interceptions and put Salina in a bad spot early.
Because that's the thing that we noticed, watching even the first game against Southwest Kansas was like, if it wasn't Mike Lee, it was Marcus Smith getting it done, the captain. If it wasn't him, it was Trey Wortham with a pick six. It wasn't just one guy with, a bunch of tackles and a bunch of, pass breakups or anything like that. It's literally across the board for the Firebirds.
Yeah, I was going to say, at the same time, we talk about how underperforming Salina has been. They're bound to, progress to the mean at some point. They're bound to play their level of game that they're able to. And we saw it last week with Nashville. Nashville gave it 110% and took Albany to the wire. We could end up seeing that. So I think when you look at the better edge line of 18.5 points, that's a little scary because it feels like it's going to be a much, much closer game than that. Because they're not an 0-2 team. Yeah,
honestly, yeah. I mean, they're talented. I mean, I think their defensive line's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Like to me, that's where it starts is up front, and I don't think they're terrible on either side of the ball. Honestly.
Mm-mm. No.
Well, let's talk about that. Obviously the Arena League is a passing league, but sometimes the difference can be in the trenches there. Talk about Kerry Starks, the kind of linebacker, defensive end, kind of hybrid guy. How could he make life tough for the Albany offensive line? What will they have to do to stop him?
So he's an interesting one because they line him up at Mac linebacker, they line him up at defensive end, they line him up at nose guard. So they move him all around. So it's not like he's going one-on-one with the same guy the entire game. They do that intentionally because he has the pass rushing ability to be able to beat the man in front of him. So you're going to have to circle him every single play and see where he's coming from. Because if you look at that second game against Corpus Christi, that first half, that pass rush was killing Corpus Christi. And if it wasn't Kerry Starks, it was Henry Kellogg. And they were able to get to the quarterback and give him some happy feet and, throw him off his rhythm. That didn't happen in the second half, and Corpus Christi was able to lay it on. So that if Salina has a chance to win this game, it's going to be because of that pass rush and the impact that they make on the Albany offense.
So it sounds like Albany's going to have to keep an eye on number one. Make sure before every play, make sure you know where number one is because
find where that guy is. Yeah.
Find that that guy.
Yeah, they have players. You got to win in order to be in the win column. But the reality of it is, I don't think they're that far off. I really don't.
No, they're definitely not, and they're it's just puzzling the start to the season that they've had. So this I think is going to be a lot closer of a game than folks may realize.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left before kickoff, so I'll kind of call it here. Trey, Off the Wall Football on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the different sites. Follow him for terrific AF1 coverage. Very, very helpful, very good, and we love your stuff. And obviously, Evergreen as well, doing this for the first time on there.
It looks really good, by the way. I just checked it out. It looks nice.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, definitely looks good. And then we are again brought to you by the Clock Tower Hotel in Latham, the place where we do our weekly shows, and Recovery Sports Grill in Troy has the watch party going on, getting ready for the game tonight, and the Rusty Nail in Clifton Park joining us this week as a person or as a business. And we just want to make sure we get you guys where you got to go. Like I said, if you're watching from home on Vice, it's channel 133 on Spectrum. If you're in the Capital District, and I think that's it from here. Any final words, gentlemen?
No, there's gonna be a good game. I think like we've alluded to, Salina is a lot better than their 0-2 record indicates. I think they're going to give Albany all they can take. I still think Albany comes away with the win, but I think it's going to be like a 1, maybe 2 possession game at the end, like maybe like an 8-9 point victory for Albany. But I have an over under for you guys. I want to get your thoughts on this. So over under 3.5 times Darian Townsend helmet pops off.
Under
3.5 times.
Under. We talked to him about that. I think he'll have a new nice stuck chin strap to make sure that I actually had him show his head like to us before we did anything, and it was like brutal. It sucked. I don't wish that on my worst enemy.
No, seeing that happen last week, I was like, oh no, what? Just glue that thing on, man.
Because one time he
Yeah, so
slipped
he
like
was
5 yards with it.
he was saying that he had a problem with the with the ear pads, jaw pads, because he was sick during the week. He said he's a small guy. I don't know what he weighs, but he lost 8 pounds, and 8 pounds represents a pretty good percentage of his body weight.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it was between that and the top straps where the Phillips screws were, they were kind of loose, so it just kept coming off. So with that, man, I want to really thank you for coming on. This is a good show, and looking forward to making some new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a blast. Really appreciate you guys. Yeah, like they mentioned, we're on Instagram, X/Twitter, TikTok at Off the Wall FB. F as in foot, B as in ball. Across all platforms, YouTube. We're on Evergreen with the Turf Tapes, which is a fun series we do, watching old arena games and do like a watch along of all that. So yeah, it's been a blast. Would love to talk shop with anybody that loves arena ball.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so that's for Trey from Off the Wall Football and Chris Eppley. My name is Adam Samarov, and enjoy the game tonight.